Welcome back. Holding about the 17,000 mark for the Nifty. So let's just focus on the pharma space, which has been a buzz all through this year. And Ekta is here to talk about the merger and acquisition that took place in the space very recently. Ekta, over to you.
Thanks for that. Well, Advent-backed homegrown private pharma company Bharat Serums Vaccines is buying Chennai-based TTK Healthcare's human pharma division for 805 crores. The company will receive 74% of the funds via cash and remaining via equity shares. TTK Health's pharma business is around 25% of the company's total turnover. The top 10 brands comprise of around 70 to 80% of sales for the company, with a strong focus on women's health. This includes brands such as Osopan, which is a calcium supplement, and pregnancy-related brand Lactair, to infertility brands for women such as CCQ, Eva Serve, as well as Carni Q. TTK Healthcare's human pharma business generated sales of around 160 crores in FY21, which was flat year on year. However, is estimated to grow around 15 to 20% in FY22, with margins of around 20% as well. The division is profit-making. Based on the sales, the transaction is valued at around 5 times trailing sales and a little over 4 times FY22 estimated sales. This is largely in line with the other recent deals in the pharma space. This deal also signifies the rising interest in the domestic pharma market, with this being the 4th M&A in the domestic market in just this year. BSV says the buyout is expected to propel their position in the women's health segment. Lastly, what is TTK Healthcare left with post this transaction? Other divisions include consumer products, animal welfare, medical devices, protective devices, and the food business. The consumer healthcare business, which generated sales of around 175 odd crores in FY21, has well-known brands such as Woodward's Gripe Water, which crossed sales of around 100 crores in FY21, Eva range of women's products such as deodorants, the animal health business, which did sales of around 77 crores in FY21, while the medical devices business consists of heart valves and orthopedic devices. The protective device business consists of the Score condom brand. The division generated sales of around 94 crores in FY21. And lastly, the foods business, which consists of products such as Fryams, which generated revenues of around 100 crores in terms of a division in FY21.
Okay, I guess a lot of us can relate to these brands, right? Especially Gripe Water, the calcium supplements, etc. At some point in time, you would have used it.
For sure.
Okay, you had, I mean, for women, I was talking about the brands that women associate with. Okay. All right. Well, we'll get talking to the management of BSV. Tata Motors, by the way, some news flow coming in there where they're planning to increase prices of commercial vehicles. I guess that's normal course of action, business that they have to do, because they have to pass on the higher raw material costs to their consumers. But getting back to the deal that BSV has struck with TTK's pharma business, Sanjiv Navangul, the managing director and CEO at Bharat Serums Vaccines, joins us now to talk about that. Sanjiv, thanks so much for being with us. So we do know that the pharma division of TTK Healthcare, the human pharma division, recorded sales of 160 crores in FY21. Now that this acquisition is done, what kind of growth do you see in this business overall? And, their portfolio, which is heavy on infertility, on gynecology, is complementary to your own portfolio. So tell us, what kind of value add would this be over the next couple of years?
Sure. I think there are 3 main things that, first of all, helps us. The first thing is that we, as women's health company with a lot of women's health focus, we're probably a more hospital and let's say clinic-oriented company. But with this acquisition, we get much stronger into the retail section. So it adds a lot of muscle for us from a retail section point of view. So that's one. Secondly, with this, clearly we become if you take hematinics and supplements out, then we become the #1 player in women's health in the pharmaceutical market of India, which is probably one of our biggest stories that we want to create a really dedicated women's health company. So that adds us to our story. The third thing that helps us is basically, our coverage in women's health therapies was around about 20-25% of the therapies we were covering. But with this, we crossed the 50% threshold in terms of therapies required for women's health. So all these 3 makes us feel very good about this transaction, and we really look forward to using this kind of opportunity to become a much bigger player in women's health in the country.
Sanjiv, hi, afternoon. This is Ekta here. Just wanted to dive a little deeper into the valuations. This entire transaction is valued at around 5 times trailing sales, probably a little more than 4 times on an FY22 sales estimate. Give us a sense in terms of how exactly you reach these valuations.
I think, look, normally, Ekta, you're right that we will look at valuations from the standpoint of where it is today and where it will go in future. We clearly, being a very strong player in women's health and with such a strong presence in the gynecology segment, we believe that this is a clearly 15 plus percentage growth for us year on year. So if you look at it that way, I think this is something which will make the deal much more viable for us. Normally, as an investor, we would not think about it from the deal of today's value, but we would look at it from the future value that we can create. And the strength that we have displayed by growing, let's say this year, BSV has been growing over 40%. So we clearly have the capability and the capacity as a team to deliver much higher growth. And therefore, we believe that this is a good acquisition for us. And therefore, the valuation from today's point of view is X, but from tomorrow's point of view for us might be a much better value for us.
So in terms of products, TTK has a lot of top brands, in this space, whether it's Osopan, Lactair, infertility brands, respiratory brands as well. Where do you see the highest amount of growth? I mean, what is the one focus area, that you could see sort of good amount of traction over the next few years?
Yeah, I think Ekta has done her homework, so she talked about a few brands. But look at it from a point of view of a few. Let's talk about 2-3 brands. One is Lactair. It's a lactating agent, and actually the penetration of this is much lower than what it should be from the point of view of trying to help women at that stage. So there is a possibility of that growing substantially. Look at another brand like Epidocin, which is a cervical dilator during childbirth. And cervical dilators, you always have this at childbirth, whether people go in for C-section or natural delivery, and there is a lot of debate there. Somewhere we need to also ensure that we support natural deliveries more and more in future, and therefore this is another case where we bring in a lot of expertise from a fertility business that we have. So we might be able to help there. Let's take one more. There's an ovulation inducer, CCQ. We are the biggest player in fertility space. So if we are the biggest player in fertility space, acquiring a brand that helps ovulation inducement is something which will really complement our other high-tech brands, hormones that we have that we use in fertility. So this is how we look at this more from a women's health and gynecology point of view. There are other brands which the coverage can help us deliver, but clearly if 16 out of the top 20 brands of the company are gynecology oriented, that is the main focus for us.
Sanjiv, I had a two-part question, and this is on industry question. One, how much is this entire women's health, fertility, reproductive segment growing? Do you expect much more interest and launches from domestic pharma companies within this space? And is it outperforming other segments? And secondly, this is the 4th transaction which has taken place in 2022 within the domestic pharma market. The others are Lupin and Anglo-French and Panacea Bio and Mankind, etc. Tell us, why is there so much interest within this domestic pharma business when it comes to M&A and acquisition of certain brands?
Yeah, so let me take the second question first, because it's an important question. I think there will be more and more interest for 2 reasons. One reason is that last couple of years have told us how resilient this industry is in terms of growth, even in difficult situations. So the resilience of the industry tells us that there will be more interest in this industry. And the government support with PLI and all other kinds of stories, I think there's real interest in this sector. The second thing is, I think even if we take any disease area today in this country, the treatment penetration is just about 30%. So if it is 30% treatment penetration, there is a lot more scope for growth in this area. Therefore, there will be a lot more action seen. So therefore, I think there is more and more interest in healthcare sector. You're seeing it in API, you're seeing it in formulations. Either way, this industry seems to be an industry where there will be more and more investments coming in. What we need to ensure, of course, is that as we do this in India, we need to go up the value chain and focus more on R&D also. So that's something to think of.
Well, Sanjiv, what you're saying is spicing up the streets appetite for this industry going ahead as well. Now, you are an Advent-backed company. You have made an acquisition of a listed, of a part of a listed company as well. At some point, you would be looking at listing as well, right? Because then more people, the retail audience will definitely be able to partake in this growth story. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it depends on your feedback more, but let me hit it lightly. But let me take it in this way: that look, we just finished 2 years of our journey with this investment. I think we should allow this company to grow free of encumbrances of how we should approach it from the market point of view for some time at least. We should start thinking about it in the 4th year or 5th year of investment rather than this early. The reason being that if we start doing that, we get distracted by what we need to do as a company. And companies have to survive post even getting public or getting any other investor in or something. So I think we need to be careful that the distraction doesn't drive us right at this moment of time, but we focus on what we need to achieve as a company. We are on a very, very high growth path. And at this moment, I would rather leave that question out in terms of how do we look at the future.
Okay, all the best. And I hope there are many more acquisitions to come in the years, and we'll be the first to chat about them, I hope. Thanks a lot for joining us on the show. Well, there's lots of M&A taking place in the pharmaceutical space, and this is the latest one on the block. Let's slip into a short break. Gateway Distriparks merged entity relists on the bourses today. To discuss this, we will be joined by Prem Kishan Gupta, the Chairman and Managing Director at Gateway Distriparks, on the other side.